Hello, Sooner Nation. Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Big thanks to everyone who's been watching our content and are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, do so. Also, we're asking that you check out the Fan Stop at thefanstop.com. It's a great time to sign up for the Shirt of the Month Club so that you can be sent shirts each and every month to your house. OU gear, great apparel, great price. Check them out at fanstop.com. Here today with Jay to talk about the first defensive position breakdown. And we're going to start with the defensive line, where a lot of people think that this is what's going to make or break this defense. A lot of new additions on this defensive line, Jay. A lot of new faces out of the portal, as well as just young guys coming in ready to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, you can talk about the guys that they lost and who they brought in out of the portal. Specifically, I think on the edge, you think of a guy like Caden Woolard that I think will make an impact for this team. You got guys that have returned in that have been there for a long time. Ethan Downs, I think he's kind of the leader of that defensive line, I would say. And I think he's going to have he had a really good year last year, Jeremy. And I look for him also to have another good year this year. I think he'll be your staple on one side. And then the other side, I look for a guy like R. Mason Thomas. He's been injured in his career at Oklahoma. Maybe this is the year he's not, and he can prove it on the field. I think he's the guy. And then you got a bunch of young guys. I'm talking edge right now, Jeremy, specifically. But guys like PJ Adebawore that didn't really get a whole lot of run last year, it's going to get more this year. You got the freshman, Danny Okoye. We could go down the list, Jeremy, but they have a lot of depth at that position. You didn't even mention Trace Ford. I know he played a lot more last year probably than he's going to play this year, but who knows? It gives you a lot of experience. And you got different type of players. I think Woolard is a guy a little bit similar to Bothroyd, except I think he's better at getting to the quarterback than Bothroyd was. I think that's proven in his history as a college player. You can look at his stats; he's really good at getting the quarterback. So, a lot of promising things, I think, on the edge specifically, Jerm.
Yeah, you mentioned several guys there on the edge. Taylor Wine's another guy that I don't know how much he's going to play, but I will say this: I think the opponent's going to dictate maybe what OU does in some of these, because I look at the guys you just mentioned, and there's some guys who I think just going to be better, have a better knack at rushing the passer than they are at stopping the run, and vice versa. So I think Brent Venables and company, Zach Alley, they've got to decide when they want to make moves as far as who they're going to play on certain downs and distances. That's going to be something key to watch. It's not going to be where they're rolling with two guys, one on each edge, the majority of the game. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that with the depth they have. Let's move to the interior, where really OU has made significant improvements size-wise. Specifically, these guys are a few over 300 pounds now. And it's another position, Jay, interior defensive line, where you're combining guys that they've had with new guys and then portal guys. Obviously, the big portal get was Dominique Williams. Immediate impact player is going to step on and make immediate impact. But you got these other guys who people have been waiting to see, a.k.a. Grayson Halton. You've got some other kind of guys who have been there, Devon Sears, Marcus Strong, but you've got those freshman group, Jay, with Jaden Jackson and David Stone, and people are curious, how much are these guys going to play? I've named several guys. I think they're pretty deep there. They need two out of – I haven't even mentioned DeJoun Terry, but they need two out of the ones that I've mentioned to be high impact players, not just run-of-the-mill defensive linemen.
Yeah, I was going to say you forgot DeJoun Terry. DeJoun Terry, I think, has a chance to have a really, really good year. He had a good year last year as well. I think the interesting thing is going to be, a lot of times, are they going to be playing two of those guys in the middle? Are they going with one and going to three down linemen? It'll be interesting to see what they do. I think if you go back to last year in the 24 power line class, people thought, now, can David Stone contribute year one? That was a lot of the talk. Well, I think he will. I think he'll play a big part. What I don't think people thought maybe at the time when he committed was maybe how good Jaden Jackson actually is. David Stone said how good he was, if you remember back to last year. But it sounds like he may be the real deal. And may get quite a bit of playing time, if not even starting. I mean, I don't know who they're going to throw out there. Probably game one. You look at it though. You mentioned Dominique Williams. You mentioned DeJoun Terry. You mentioned Jaden Jackson. You mentioned David Stone. I I would lean probably either Jaden Jackson, DeJoun Terry, Dominique Williams, and then David Stone rotationally. Because I think Jaden Jackson, what he gives you maybe that David Stone doesn't, is if you're wanting a guy in the middle to plug up the run, I think Jaden Jackson's more of that guy. I think David Stone's better at getting to the quarterback. So what you could see, Jeremy, I don't know. I'm just saying, for sure passing down, maybe David Stone and Grayson Halton are your two in the middle. And they're rushing the quarterback. If you know they're not going to run the ball, you don't have to have a guy just to hold up the line, right? So they got so many different ways they can do that with different type of players. I mean, if you go back to last year, I'm going to name a few guys. Isaiah Coe. You mentioned DeJoun Terry. He was there last year. Who's some of those other inside guys last year?
I Jordan
Kelly. A lot of them, I think, were kind of similar type players. I think they got a little more variety this year is what I would say.
Lalula.
Yeah.
Hey, and this is another position. I've said it on our lives. We've talked a lot about it. OU has to rotate guys in. You've got to keep, more than anything, I think, more than anything in the interior defensive line, is you've got to get some penetration into the backfield of your opponent. You basically, those two guys in the middle, if that's what they're going with, whatever they're going with, it's got to be chaos. They've got to create chaos to where the other guys can make the plays. BV actually said it on SEC Network, Jay, in his interview with Dari Nokwa, and it was this. He said, we need the entire defense to play as a group cohesively, not about one guy. This is about everyone. And I think that really starts with the defensive line, because as they go, the other guys should go.
Yeah, and the defensive line is what OU fans for the last, 10 to 12 years have been just waiting for, to have a defensive line that can maybe dominate. And we've talked a lot of positive things here for the first 7.5 minutes of this video. But I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, and I kind of want your opinion. Because the guys we mentioned, okay, none of them, I'm talking interior specifically. As far as at Oklahoma, I would say only DeJoun Terry are guys that have made big impacts so far for Sooners, right?
Well, I mean, absolutely. But Grayson Halton, when he did play last year, he had made significant strides.
I agree. But what I'm saying is you're going to have a whole new group this year. And, yeah, they can be outstanding, which I think the upside is great. And that is good, because what they have done in the past hasn't been great. But I do also think, do you think, and this was my question, do you think they're going to go through some struggles early, kind of cohesiveness, or do you not think so at all? They're just going to come out. And I think it's different than the O-line. It's a totally different game. You don't have to be as cohesive as an O-line unit.
DeJoun Terry, proven. Dominique Williams, while he hasn't been at OU, has proven against big-time opponents. And Grayson Halton has shown strides. And you just hope the freshman can be close to as advertised. But here's the deal. Non-conference, I think they're going to wreak havoc.
They should.
But again, until the Tennessee game, where they're going to face a quarterback who's not like any they faced early on, you're really going to be able to see what they can do. And that's what's exciting, Jay, as we get closer to the OU Temple game.
Yeah, I was going to ask one final question, maybe your opinion on who leads this team in sacks this year from that front.
Well, I am going to go an edge rusher. I think this is a type of team that could get I remember Dan Cody talked about how many sacks their edge rushers got. I'm not going to really state a number, but I think that if I'm going to pick one sack leader, Jay, I think there'll be multiple guys getting multiple sacks. But I am really high on PJ Adebawore this year.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I look at a guy like, Ethan Downs had a great year last year in sacks. I think he could do the same thing this year. But I also feel like R. Mason Thomas might have a breakout year for him. So I would go with one of those two for my pick for sack leader.
Here's what I think is a safe assumption. OU should be significantly better and have way more sacks this
The
year
big-
than they did last year. But only time's going to tell, and it's ticking closer as we speak. OU versus Temple, Friday, August 30th. Cannot wait. 6 o'clock ESPN. Thanks for watching the content here at the Sooner Surge. Tell your friends, talk about it, subscribe. We appreciate like and comment on our videos. We'll see you next time.